Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. So I'll be doing a recap of today's episode of Days of Our Lives for June 12th, 2024. So in this episode I would say I'd give it a 7, maybe 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't really like high energy, high drama today, but there was still some funny moments in there, some, good moments, but not high drama as the last two episodes. So, in the first scene, what we see is Eric going to the pub to meet up with his dad, Roman. So, of course, Eric is still, as understandably, upset about what's going on with Jude and how he lost Jude and just starting all over again. Understandably, he's looking really tough right now, and I mean, who wouldn't? So with that being said, he spoke with his dad. His dad is just offering support and just being a dad to him and offering comfort. So they're still wondering how Sloan got away, how Sloan, hit EJ on the head, how she was able to get over it. But we all know that, that was just a attempt with EJ just letting her get away just so that he can keep Jude and keep Nicole, him being selfish. I'm really not liking EJ right now because at first I like EJ and Nicole together. He was the supportive husband, the doting husband, and I really like their chemistry together more than I do Nicole and Eric. And I know there's a lot of Eric Cole fans there, but I like it Joel better. So yes, so I mean, I really don't like how he turned out to be. He's just, of course, he's his normal smug self, and it's funny when it's needed, but now that what he's doing is pathetic, it's insecure, and I really don't like it at all. So I mean, it's just sad to see Eric going through what he's going through, because of course if you know the history of Eric and his kids, the one that he had with Sarah ended up dead. He didn't know about it because Sarah hid the paternity from him, and turns out the child died. You got Jada that was pregnant for him and then ended up having an abortion thanks to Nicole coercing her, sort of, and now that he finally become a parent, of course, he has Sloan miscarriage. They miscarried their baby, and then that was a loss again. And then he finally have, this adopted baby, finally becoming a father, even though technically it's biologically his. So, it's really tough to see him going through that. I'm not really a big Eric fan, but it was really tough, and I really do hope that the storyline wraps up so that he can have his child. I really am not excited for him and Nicole to get back together, even though that's bound to happen, because she always just drawn to him. No matter what other marriage or relationship she is in, she always has something with Eric. It's either they end up kissing, they end up cheating, and I know it was some drug donors, but come on, there's underlying feelings, and I'm tired of the producers just pushing this narrative when they already know that they always gonna feel for each other, and it's always messing up the other partner, it's always making the other partner insecure. So enough about Eric Cole. So back to today's episode. So in the next scene, we see EJ talking to Jude about what was in the article today. It was something about Paulina and how the public is viewing her now because of the whole thing with her trying to come out of the hospital while she was in radiation and going to save Chanel. So of course the public is scrutinizing that, of course. So then he's talking to the baby, and he's talking about he's just all smug about it, because of course he still has a chip on his shoulder about Paulina firing him as DA. So he is just happily looking through the article and just, waiting for his revenge to be enacted. So of course Chanel comes in and hears that, and she's not too pleased about him talking about her mother and all of that. So then it comes to them having a really intense conversation, and it went from her asking about his true intentions, because at first he's saying, he's upset because of her Paulina's actions and what it could have done, what it possibly could have done to the baby and her. So Chanel doesn't buy the BS. So Chanel is saying it's more than that. It's because he got fired. So of course he's revengeful about that. So of course it went more intense between the two of them, because he then said that she had options. Of course Chanel's sensitive about that because she doesn't want to get rid of her and Johnny's baby. So it got really intense after that, and uncomfortable, I can say. So we go over to Paulina and Abe. So Paulina is looking really good. I haven't seen her and Abe in a minute, but Paulina's hair is looking good. She's looking really vibrant. Chanel's hairstyle is looking good too, I must say. But yes, so Paulina and Abe, they were, talking about Paulina's dream. So she had a dream that she was this big 50-foot giant just walking around the town, damaging everything, and going over to Chanel's bakery and damaging it and hurting Chanel. So it's really stemming from that whole thing with her saving Chanel up in the Horton cabin and possibly exposing her and her unborn child to radiation. So then Paulina she's just consumed with guilt about that, and then her and Chanel is not really in a good place right now in terms of the relationship. So Abe is saying it will all work itself out, because it's not the first time they had a rough patch, but he was also recommending her to see somebody to talk to, like Marlena. So Paulina said no, not at this moment. So the next scene was with Marlena. So Marlena was on the phone talking to John about a flight. I think John is out of town. I don't know why John is out of town, but that was where it was at. So Johnny came in to see her, and Johnny wanted to talk about everything that's going on with him and his life and his career choice and how it would affect him and Chanel's marriage, their baby. They got a baby coming. So he spoke to his grandma for advice. So of course Marlena is perfect at giving advice. She's really calm under pressure. She's she always gives sound advice, whether it's as a psychiatrist or just as a grandma, mom. I think she really does give good advice. So she was giving him some advice in terms of just letting Chanel know about his career decision. Of course, Johnny is really being a doting husband. He's thinking of Chanel's needs first, Chanel's needs and the baby's needs. He doesn't want her to uproot her life, her career, her family. Everything is in Salem. So of course he's thinking about that. He doesn't want to make that choice, but he didn't consult with her yet. So Marlena is urging him to do that. Because what if Chanel wants to leave? What if Chanel was willing to uproot her life to be with him, right? That's what marriage is about, compromise, yeah? So, of course, he did take that advice, and then they switched the topic to talking about Jude and Eric, and Johnny is in the middle of it, because for one thing, he's happy that his dad and Nicole finally get the child that they've been grieving for months, right? He's finally happy about his so-called brother, but he's also sad about his uncle Eric, because everything, he didn't really deserve it. So he's in the middle of it, which is understandable. So after their talk, Johnny went to be with Chanel for their appointment. So we gonna switch over to the next scene, which is Leo and Leo in the square. So Leo is just, talking to himself, looking at the article of Paulina and seeing that it was brilliantly written, even though it was not by him. So this muscular looking shirtless guy was running in the square, and he stopped and he's panting, asking him for some water. So of course Leo's attracted to him. He's looking really good, and then the guy asked him for some water. So of course, at some point he was flirting with him, and then I don't know, out of nowhere Leo just asked the man if he wanted to go out sometime, and then the guy said, he's flattered, but he's not gay. So Leo thought, you sure you're not? You sure you're not gay or whatever? Said no. So of course he was surprised, and then he's wondering like what's got into him. He needs to check himself for something. So then we see Leo go over to Marlena in a frantic mode. He needs to talk to her because he wants to know what's going on with him. So he sat down and he shared with Marlena that he's losing his touch in a sense, and that he needs to be evaluated. Everything that happened with him with the breakup with Dimitri, getting the letter. So he's just feeling kind of needs some self-assurance in a sense. So that scene was very funny for me. I liked the conversation. So of course, the conversation between Leo and Marlena was really good, I must say. I think any scene with Leo in it is just bound for laughs. He always makes any uncomfortable situation more comfortable and more laughable, even though he rambles a lot about on and on and on about some strange random things. He always makes it really amusing for me. I like him. I mean, I like him and I like Xander. They're my favorite characters, and he's very fabulous, I must say. So yeah, but it was funny to watch the whole conversation between them. I mean, but Marlena does get to the point of him, why he is who he is, why he's projecting, it's like a coping mechanism, especially with his traumatic childhood. So it was a very therapeutic conversation between them. Leo learned some truths about himself, and yeah, that was the end of their little therapy session. So let's see which scene that I missed out. Okay, so we see the scene with Johnny and Chanel. So Johnny and Chanel are at their appointment. It's not Kayla looking after them, but the same hunky guy from the square. So he turns out to be a fine doctor. So he's Dr. Mark Green. He has a name, people. So he was tending to them. Everything seemed very well with the baby and the health, and everything is going well. The heartbeat is sounding fine. So that was good, and turns out that he's related to Felicity. If you remember one of the episodes where the character Felicity was introduced, the cute girl with Down syndrome. So yes, turns out he's also her brother too, not just the teenage guy that was with Tate. So right, everything is good. So we're gonna go back to them in a sec, but I think I need to cover the scene before was Paulina and Abe. So Abe got a call from one of his councilmen, and they were saying that something is going on with Paulina. The people want Paulina to be recalled, right? So they investigate a little bit more. Turns out it's from an organization called CCS. So it's some citizen concern society. I don't know what the S. I don't remember what the S stand for, but yeah, something like that, like an organization calling for her to be recalled. So of course, they did some digging, and it doesn't take one and one to add up that it's EJ behind this. So EJ, we see the scene where EJ is talking to his assistant Rita about everything that's happening with her possibly being recalled. So of course he's gleaming about it. I hate when he's like this, but yeah, that's EJ for you. EJ is definitely EJ, being EJ right now. So yeah, so I think they're gonna figure that out probably in the next episode or later on in the week. And we also see that Eric, let's backtrack. So Eric actually went back to Eric was with his dad, and his dad said, you gotta figure out, you couldn't stay at the apartment anymore because it's gonna bring bad memories, understandably. So he's offering him to move back in the pub upstairs, fresh start. So, Eric actually takes him up on that offer, but he said he got to do something first. So he goes to the Demare mansion. That time EJ's talking to the baby and saying, oh, you're with your real dad and mom. And, Nicole and Eric can't find out because he would lose her and the baby and everything. And, I still don't know why the Kiriakis and the Demare mansions never have a lock on them, or they don't work, because people just wander into the place. Like, is it that safe? I know Julie said in an episode last week that, it's a safe town, and anybody can just come in and open door policy. Well, not for me. It gotta be locked. So Eric was, and of course he didn't hear the conversation before, and EJ saying, the baby is trying to sleep, and he was showing him and everything. So Eric is asking EJ to represent him, and EJ is asking, so what about your sister Belle? What about Justin? So Eric is saying Justin is dealing with a family crisis, as we know in the previous episodes, and Belle is working with Sean on their marriage. So, of course they're not on the show. So we're not going to get into that. So then he just said, he's thinking EJ has a reason because, of what Sloan presumably did to, them and the son. So EJ said, okay, let me represent you. And, everybody need a fresh start and blah, blah, blah. So, of course, he represented him. He's agreeing to represent him, and take it from there. And then Eric goes back to the pub, ready to, fresh beginning, fresh start. So, everything was good with them there. So just hoping that Eric pulls it together. I'm just proud of him that he is not relapsing, he's not drinking, because when he does get in a bad space or get depressed, he drinks a lot, and it's not a good sight at all. So I'm really proud of him for sticking to his sobriety and everything. I must say, shout out to him. So the last scene is where we go back to Johnny and Chanel. So in the last scene, we see Johnny and Chanel talking. Everything went well with their appointment. So Johnny is saying to Chanel, how you feel about moving to Los Angeles? So Chanel was like stunned. So that's where it left off, and that's the end of the episode review. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Till next time, bye.